What's up everybody, Demon back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla vs Kong Playmates unboxing. Big thank you to Playmates for partnering with me to bring you this installment of unboxing videos. They sent me these bad boys to unbox for you. If you want to pick these guys up, you can get them in your local Walmart or on the Walmart website. Alright, without further ado, let's jump into it. For title's sake, let's start with Godzilla. So this is Playmates' battle roaring Godzilla. The gimmick here is that he roars when you press a button. His spines look like they should light up because they're translucent, but they don't. The packaging is fairly standard for Playmates here going across. I do like the font they used for Battle Roar, and I also like the photo they used for Godzilla here. The background again is just the city that they always destroy. They got a little try me sign for you to press the button on Godzilla, and then of course the Godzilla vs Kong banner. On the back there's nothing too special up top, it's just some description of the movie, and then you've got the pictures of the battle roaring Godzilla and the battle roaring Kong in front of the neon city. When these figures were first announced, I remember there was a little bit of backlash to them. People didn't really like the sculpts for them, specifically with Kong. For some reason, and it's not just because they sent me this, there's messages to prove that what I'm saying is true. When I very first saw the images of these figures, I was pretty sold on it. No, the Kong doesn't look completely movie accurate. The Godzilla, on the other hand, I think looks really good. And there's just something about the gimmick. I'm a big fan of gimmicks with children's toys. I really like it when they roar or when they light up. So I liked this. I liked that they did this. Especially because they gave us other Godzilla releases that don't have anything like this. So it's cool to have them both. Without further ado, let's get this guy open. So he's a pretty simple one to remove. He comes in two pieces, Godzilla and then the tail. The tail, interestingly, the whole thing is together. Usually they put the little split so that it comes in two. I guess Playmates doesn't do that, but a lot of other companies do. And much like with the other Playmates Godzilla figures, the tail pops in nice and easy, no blow dryer needed, so it's no hassle. The figure does come with instructions telling you what kind of batteries you need and how to put them in. So if you want to see here, this is what you're going to need. It's all the instructions for this guy, and it tells you how to do everything. It's pretty self-explanatory. Batteries are included. I guess it's just nice that it tells you what kind of batteries you need. The batteries go in here on Godzilla's groin area, so you can unscrew this and put them in here. And here's the figure. I know there's some people critical of Godzilla's pose with his head straight up in the sky. I kind of like it for a few reasons. Number one, you can put him like this, and now it's a really cool swimming Godzilla. It's one of the only cheaper toys that you can get for the children's market that can go into this swimming position and look like this in movie accurate style. That's really cool. One thing I loved to do as a kid was to play with different toys. So like, for instance, I would have this Godzilla walking, and when I needed him to go swimming, I would just swap them out and then play with the different Godzilla. Maybe I'm the only kid who was that particular. I was very particular as a kid when I'd play with toys. I would also close one eye when I'd play with toys, and I would position my head so that I could get the camera angles I'd want. Maybe that's why I wound up eventually going into film school. I just had a natural inclination for directing. But I do like that, and I also like it because Godzilla does roar like this in the movie. He does it a couple times, so it's kind of cool to have a Godzilla that represents something we see in the film. Besides, we already have two different versions of a Godzilla like this released by Playmates prior to the release of this. So if you wanted your Godzilla looking straight, you already had it. As for the little gimmick, the button's right here on his side, and let's check it out. That's roar number one. Now time for roar number two. Both of those are roars he does in the movie. The first one's obviously the more iconic Godzilla roar, whereas the second one's one of the ones that I remember a lot from like trailers. I think he does that one when he arrives in Hong Kong. If you've seen other figure unboxings I've done, you'd know that I'm a big fan of the translucent stuff. So anytime they do the dorsal spines like this or anything else, I'm a big fan of the translucence. I think it's really cool. I love being able to see through it. Really awesome. So I'm a big fan of the way they've done the spines here, and there's still some texturing within them. Also, if you're worried about sharp parts or anything getting broken, these spines are rubbery, so you can bend them. They're pretty malleable, so you don't have to worry. The translucence does kind of give the implication that it might light up as the bigger one does, but they don't. These don't light up. So if you're gonna get your hopes up, sorry to tell you they don't light up. One thing I'm not a huge fan of is that it goes from this really dark blue to very light blue on the back here. I do kind of appreciate that they kind of continue because the whole back is blue, not just the spines, the whole thing. They carry that over into the back of the tail here with the blue seeping over all over the tail. But it looks a little weird. It just looks like his tail's blue. It's supposed to be the light emanating, which is something that NECA does a lot as well. But it's just going from the harsh blue to the light blue doesn't look great. Neither does the transition from the body to the tail, in my opinion. The body is much more textured than the tail, and they're kind of different plastics as well. The body's much harder than the tail is. The tail's a little bit rubbery. You can tell that there's a difference here, and it doesn't 100% hold up great. But again, that's going to be something that a kid doesn't notice. You can also bend Godzilla's tail, something I liked to do as a kid. You can't hold any positions other than what it's got, but it's okay. What it does have is a really cool pose. I like the curl in the tail. It's pretty sweet. It also saves on shelf space, so that's nice. Comparing it, you could get the idea that, yeah, I mean, if the tail was stretched out, it'd be much longer than this one actually, so it's probably pretty movie accurate. As for Godzilla, he's got articulation in the tail, in the legs, in the arms, and then in the jaw. So overall, he's got 6 points of articulation. As for the sculpt, he's got the interesting body position of having his head straight up in the air, which again, I've already said I liked. It's pretty detailed. The face is okay. The neck is a little unrendered. It's a little bit one of those unrendered Playmates figures, but the legs have good detailing at the very least. And you can see there's some spots on the body where it does have good detailing. So overall, the texturing is not great, except for on the legs and on the arms, but there are some spots here and there on the body that look pretty good. As for the paint, I don't really like the tail. Like I said, it's a little too bright and doesn't mesh with the rest of the body, but I really like the darker paints they went with for the rest of the body, and the gray highlights they put in the legs are a nice touch. I also like the blue eyes with the pupil. That's good as well. The teeth are pretty well painted, and the pink tongue is a nice touch. I don't know, I really like this, actually. I know that not a lot of people do. They don't like the pose of the head, and they think it's kind of an awkward figure, but I really like it. I like that it roars. I really like it. I don't know if I like it as much as the original, and to be honest, I don't really remember what I rated the original, so maybe my ratings here aren't gonna line up, but I would give the new Playmates Battle Roaring Godzilla a 7 out of 10. I think it's pretty good. It's maybe not as good as it could have been. Maybe they could have had more articulation so that he could look all the way up. But again, these are cheaper end figures, so it's not like you're going to be getting some high grade quality with them to begin with. 2 points of articulation I also missed are here in the feet. The feet do turn as well. I do really like the pose of the tail, and I kind of dig the head sticking up in the air. I think it's kind of cool. I don't have too many complaints. The only thing that really sticks out to me that I don't like, and this is something that's always bothered me when I was a kid with toys as well, I hate having the bolts everywhere. It drives me crazy as a child. Now I don't mind it when I'm older, but as a kid it drove me crazy. You have 2 bolts here, 1 here. You've got the chest piece, which is pretty obvious where the batteries go in. You've got the speaker holes right here, bolts on the neck and bolts on the side. That was always something that drove me crazy. I don't know if any other kids are out there that really that sticks out to them, but as a kid, I never liked that. I would always have to pretend that my toys with that issue were Mechagodzilla, otherwise it would drive me crazy. I was very particular as a kid. Maybe not all kids are like that. I don't know. Here he is standing next to the original Godzilla release from Playmates. They're about the same size, except that this guy's head's sticking up in the air. Alright, moving on to the controversial guy, Battle Roaring Kong. Again, the box is pretty similar to the other one, so we're not going to spend much time on it. Alright, here you go. Here's your instructions for Kong, so if you want to read those, I guess you can. And here's the Battle Roaring Kong. He's a nice size. He feels fine in your hand. For articulation, you've got the feet, the legs, the arms, the hands, and then the mouth, bringing us to a total of 9 points of articulation. The hands is a nice touch. I like that. Now here's the thing. He's not got the greatest sculpt. This arm is kind of in a weird position. It can only move so far due to the pose. This arm is in a fine pose, I guess. It's a punching position. He looks a little awkward. The legs are fine. They're okay. And then the face doesn't look the greatest. It's one of those ones where they've got the rubbery heads. This is something that Playmates did back in 2005 with their Big Kong as well. So for me, there's some level of nostalgia here because this guy has the same issue. And ironically enough, they're both the Roaring Kongs. I guess it was so that they could get the mouth roaring opening. On the back, you got the same issue as with Godzilla where you've got bolts everywhere. This one sticks out a little more. It's a little more noticeable because it goes right down his butt crack, so that's a little awkward. And then you've got the holes here. And then this giant thing that sticks out on the back. So if you have a particular child, or if you are a particular child like I was, and that's something that will bother you, it's noticeable. It's a lot more noticeable on here than it was on Godzilla, where it just kind of barely sticks off the side here on his shoulder up here. This one's pretty noticeable. You've also got this T pattern on his chest where the speakers are so that you can hear him roar, and let's hear it. So there you go. There's the 2 Kong roars. Sounds like he actually has maybe 3 roars. Or 4? I can't tell how many he has a couple roars, a little bit more than Godzilla has. As for the actual sculpting, the feet are really nice. They've got good detailing, they're rubbery, and they kind of feel nice. The legs have fine texturing. They did a good job, I guess, with the fur. It's about as good as the other ones. You know, you can see the detailing in his chest, where you can see a little bit of his muscle shape, his belly button, and then his chest piece looks fine. The scarring is intact, except this one's a little cut off because of the speakers. The arms, again, they got weird poses, but they do look strong and muscular, and the hands look alright. The hands are also rubbery. The head is rubbery, but there's good detailing here. The ears are nicely sculpted, but the face is kind of where it falls apart, because he doesn't have the greatest face. It looks pretty awkward, and it doesn't really have a likeness to Kong. The teeth are not individually sculpted, but they are nicely painted, except for one chip on mine where you can see the brown underneath. And then you can't really see details in the mouth. The paint is fine. It's just kind of a brown paint, but at least it looks a little more accurate than the other Kong they released, which is a little more gray in tone. I don't know if you can really tell the difference on the camera, but this Kong actually has a much more movie accurate paint job than this one, which is very kind of gray and kind of awkward that they do that. I don't know why. So at least this one has the right coloration. He just kind of looks awkward. But again, I actually like the roaring. I very much like that gimmick, and so I'm okay with some of the other awkward things, such as the back bumper. This Kong reminds me a little bit of the 2017 Kong that they released. He's a little taller, and they're both a little similar in that they've got these rubbery pieces and the brown paint job. But again, here's the two Kongs standing next to each other, so the new roaring Kong is actually a little taller. And then he goes nicely with the roaring Godzilla as well. Again, they've both kind of got awkward posing and looks, but they do go together well enough. Overall, I'd give this figure a 5 out of 10. It's a decent attempt, but it doesn't look the best. So that'll do it for this one, guys. That's my review of the Playmates Roaring Godzilla and Playmates Roaring Kong. Let's hear them roar together in harmony. It started out pretty well. I should have clicked the second roar on Kong a little quicker, and then it probably would have sounded pretty good. And so there you go. Bam! Take that, Godzilla. Team Kong all the way. I want to give a big thank you to my patrons on Patreon. You guys are absolutely the best. If you want to support the Patreon, you can using the link in the description below, where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community where you can chat with me and some others. You can request videos and get your name in the end credits of videos such as these guys. It also goes a really long way towards supporting the channel and making sure I can keep making videos like this for you guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man, out!